King Krule, Space Heavy album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this latest album from King Krule, aka Mr. Archie Marshall. He has been at it for quite some time now. He is a UK-based singer, songwriter, and one of the most genuinely unique voices in modern indie. One of my cult favorites, even though I sadly, for one reason or another, have never gotten much of a chance to chat about old Archie over here on What's Spinning. But I have been a fan of his stuff since his early days. I did enjoy his debut album, 6 Feet Below the Moon, quite a bit. I thought this rounded out just a very solid set of EPs, and I thought this album really lived up to the hype of his debut album. This was a very surreal, spacey, jazzy post-punk record. This thing had the heart of an indie rock album, but it also just had this sense of adventure to it as well. Some not so subtle nods to trip hop as well. This album had a ton going for it. I could say a lot of the same things, even more about A New Place to Drown, his second album, which was also released under his own name. And this really saw him take things up a notch. It really showed him, creating his own very interesting, captivating, cinematic world within his music. Was this very surreal, jazzy, sort of trip-hop obsessed world, monochromatic as well? Yes, but God, I wanted to be a part of it. And listen, if it's not for you, I certainly get it, but I personally wanted to get lost in it. Which leads me to The Ooze, which is an album that I have a lot of mixed feelings on. I mean, when this thing is good, I do genuinely think it's some of Archie's best stuff under the King Krule name. I do really love a lot of the stuff here, but the length and the unnecessary detours and just the conflicting thoughts here, it's a lot for me. I mean, if anything, I enjoyed his follow-up album, Man Alive, a little bit more. I thought this was Archie getting back on track. It was a very manic, very heady, very post-punk oriented album with, once again, a lot of heart. But I kind of wanted him to get back to his roots, start painting that world of his again, and putting together some concise thoughts. Now, this review is late. This review should have been out probably a week and a half ago. But, got a little off track. Birthday was last week. Calendar got a little bit out of whack. I mean, I've got a lot of music coming down the pipe this week, and guess what? A lot of it's really good. And leading up to this album, I thought that Archie might be onto something special. And god damn it, he's onto something special. This album starts off with Flimsier, and boy, does this ever set the tone of this album. I love the contrast here between the spacey, hazy, Neo-Psychedelia atmosphere that we get here, and just how broken down and emotional and bluesy this is. AKA, it's the perfect King Krule sound, as far as I'm concerned. And speaking of which, Archie's performance on this track, my God, not only is it one of his more human performances, I don't think I've ever heard him this emotional, and that's saying something. Like, I love how small he sounds on this track, and yeah, that's a compliment. I mean, by the end of this track, I'm borderline in tears. It's an unbelievable start. Pink Shell, on the other hand, is a much more jagged, heady, post-punk track that sounds like it would have, fit right at home at Man Alive. It's jazzy, it's off-kilter, it's surreal and weird, and I love that harsh riff that we get that ushers in that quick blast of a chorus. The thumping bass, the wild horns, this seriously memorable chorus. This track is wild. And Seaforth is just, wow. This is the sort of dreamy, hazy track from Archie that I can get into any day of the week. It's so easy to escape into, and Archie's sad boy lyrics and emotional vocals are icing on the cake. Between all of that and the hypnotic lapping guitar and just how dense Archie's reality is, God, it's so easy to get into. Then we have That Is My Life, This Is Yours. Is somebody cutting onions in here? My God, I mean, Archie's vocals on this track, alongside with just how downtrodden this track is, I am on the verge of tears listening to this. This is practically a slowcore, which is something that I just want to hear more and more of from King Krule. And yeah, you can argue that this incredibly minimalistic sound isn't nearly as lush or as fleshed out as some of Archie's early stuff. You are right. But the tense drumming and bluesy saxophone is just enough, man. It's just enough. Empty Stomach Space Cadet is easily one of the coolest offerings on this album. This atmosphere, I want to live here. It's so out there. It's so surreal. It is indescribable, honestly. This sounds like such a complete thought as well. It arrives, it transcends, it leaves its mark. It's so cool. And Flimsy, while a very short, sweet interlude, does more for this album's atmosphere than a lot of other tracks. And Hamburgerphobia, easily one of the best track titles that I've heard all year, and my favorite deep cut here. I love the jagged, warped riff that just sounds like it's been left out in the sun for days, as well as just how frantic Archie sounds on this track. Like, you have to watch this track like a hawk, because if you don't, you're going to miss 100 little details, and you don't want to. But it's exciting, it's eclectic, it's so good. Am I the only one that think that this might be Archie's best project? I mean, I really don't have too much bad to say. Tortoise of Independency, I mean, this one's not my favorite. This track for me is just a little too stripped down. I don't know, I just feel like this track's not fleshed out enough. It's a really short offering, and I don't feel like any of Archie's ideas really come full circle here. And because of that, this track just kind of blends in with a lot of other much better tunes. And Our Vacuum, I mean, it's just a little too minimal for me. I mean, I have my limits. I love hearing Archie in this atmosphere, his tiny, quiet vocals against this very minimal backdrop. I love that. But this track, it gets a little grating, and it's a real shame because I love how Archie just gets so aggressive at times. I just wish there was more going on here. Outside of that, though, I needed an album like this from Archie. I really do think this might be his best work. From the Swamp is a real shift for this album, which is fine by me. It's just as hazy, it's just as hard to play, it's just as fucking weird. But it's a sunny sort of psychedelia on this track for a change, and that goes double for Archie's vocals, which are just layered and layered. It's freaky, it's heavily distorted, and the guitar solo on this track is very well appreciated. Then we have Seagirl featuring Raveena. I want to be lost in this atmosphere. This is a spacey, sexy ballad with Raveena's vocals taking most of this track, which is something I did not know that I wanted so much, but man, does it ever work. Her and Archie really play off each other incredibly and create this very spacey lounge vibe, which, man, I didn't know that I needed that bad, but apparently now I need a whole album of this. Space heavy, this album's title track is so dreary, so emotional, so broken. I mean, once again, you may have to turn your brain on for a lot of these tracks. It's very easy to get lost here. But I mean that in the best way, because this track grows some teeth, gets a little aggressive, and explodes, and it's really exciting. On the other hand, when Vanishing adds a nice slice of drama, and that's a good thing. I mean, the overpowering strings that we get on this track add a level of emotion that we haven't heard on this album yet, and we're talking about an album that's been nothing but tragic. The subtle backing vocals are really nice, the subtle pianos also, and also, hey guys, I've made it 13 tracks without mentioning Twin Peaks, and I think I'm gonna make it. With If Only It Was Warmth, I mean, I'm shocked that Archie can somehow sound more tiny, more just broken, more emotional. 14 tracks in, we have reached the bluesiest track here, and not by a small margin. How? I just want to reach out to Archie and give him a hug, go home afterwards, have a really good cry, and I don't know, go to space after. And Wednesday Overcast, the finale. The sheer amount of tension here, good on you. The looming bass is so cool, the patient drumming adds so much, and Archie's performance is his most commanding here. Hell yes. I am thrilled with this album. Archie has always made such a point to sort of color in the lines of his very dreary monochromatic world, and this album is no different, but I would argue that this set of songs is maybe his most consistent. I mean, yeah, it's maybe not his most ambitious work. I mean, the Ooze certainly had its moments, but I would argue that as far as a track list goes from Archie, if you take this from start to finish, you will find all killer and very, very, very little filler. This album is just what I needed from him right now. It is one of the most tragic and emotional albums you're going to hear all year, all backdropped with this incredible atmosphere and awesome production all around. Happy boy, happy boy. Yeah, I'm feeling a light 9 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.